All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Psychedelic Light Show Review. I'm your host, Steve Pavlovsky of Liquid Light Lab. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Samardizch of the Brotherhood of Light. And today we got a very special guest. We have Suzie Brand from San Francisco Lightworks. So, Chris, what do you got for us?
Well, we got a special slideshow, which John has supplied me with some really cool photos. And so basically, John started San Francisco Lightworks in 1967. In 1969, he started an audiovisual company called San Francisco Lightworks.
No.
And he ended up moving on to the Fillmore and in 1970, and he did one of the closing shows at the Fillmore West with Bill Graham, the closing weekend. And then he moved on to Winterland. And San Francisco Lightworks kind of provided a lot of light show artists that came from the East Coast and all over the country jobs in the audiovisual business. And John had the equipment, and he was able to keep his light show alive because he was doing audio visuals on a professional level, like corporate level and stuff like that. And so at that point, he ended up doing a bunch of historic shows throughout the dark ages, the 70s and the 80s, and that's what we're going to cover today. So why don't I start the slideshow? And
we're looking forward to it. Yeah, this is because we haven't really heard that much about the 80s. So yeah, very much looking forward to the show. Thank you, John, for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay, so we're going to go to screen share here, and we're going to go share, and we're going to go boom. Okay, so there's San Francisco Lightworks logo, and there is the first show they did at the Fillmore West. A double bill there, Procol Harum on one.
It was 7 straight days.
Damn.
Yeah, but it was only one load in and one load out.
Yeah, that's always nice.
But this was the original Fleetwood Mac, Peter Green's level. So it wasn't the current edition with the girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's really the awesome, and that's a pretty good double bill you got going there.
Oh yeah, it was fine.
Okay, and that was your first guys at the Fillmore. So it took you 2 years to get in there from your start. Okay, and let's go to this next one. And that is San Francisco Lightworks on the bottom there. I just love this poster. I think it looks really cool. Yeah. David Singer. And then here's the heralded closing of the Fillmore, which is an actual movie, DVD you can buy called Last Days of the Fillmore. And let's see if I can get my laser pointer going here. And this is the show you guys did. Which one?
Yeah.
Boss Gags.
Right, the first one of the poster. There was actually another show before that one, but it never got on the poster.
Oh, who was that?
I can't remember, but I know the guy who did the light show was really pissed that they got left off.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's not much room in the bottom of that poster. Maybe that was
it was pretty full.
Okay, so you guys didn't close that, which is a legendary, weekend in San Francisco, 1971, and then Bill Graham opened up he had it open, and he started doing shows at Winterland, and you guys did this Black Sabbath show, and it was So go for it, man. Tell us about Winterland.
Yeah, there was an interesting thing that happened with Black Sabbath. Since it was a very large rear projection screen, we had a few high bright projectors, which were homemade modifications of very early carousels with big squirrel cage fans underneath it and 1,000-watt lamps. You had to blow a tremendous amount of air through those things in order to keep from burning the slides and melting them. One of the things that happened was that it was a side entry for the lamp change. And we, of course, blew out a lamp during the show, which inevitably happens. And we had to take off the side door that covered the lamp housing and the condenser lenses. And that helped cool it fast enough so we can go in and change the lamp. And one of the lenses, of course, was a heat filter, to absorb some of the heat. And I would have not believed it if I had not had one of the other guys on the crew next to me seeing this at the same time. Is with the door open and Black Sabbath playing, the heat filter shot out of the projector sideways and shattered. It was like, did you see that?
Oh, God.
So that was a very interesting experience. And literally both of us saw it. So it wasn't like, no, you drank something wrong.
That's the power of Black Sabbath, I guess, hitting the stage.
I actually was at one of those shows. It was a weekend. I went to there when I was in high school. So any other shows you did at Winterland you want to mention before we move on?
I think I mentioned the last time I talked with you guys about working with Edgar Winter and his manager.
Yeah, you told us that story.
Oh yeah. But he didn't want a light show, but he wanted just a little bit, and then
no, and I didn't want anything. I said, well, it's going to look weird. Let's just put a picture, just one slide up there, so there's something that doesn't look like there's a mistake. And then, okay, what do you want for the second song? Oh, those are nice. Yeah, how about this one? Put that one on the second song. By the third song, we just cranked into it, and at the end of the show, he came back and said, "Oh, you guys are great."
That's classic.
Yeah, fine. The other memorable one was the closing night when we had the Blues Brothers.
Okay, I'm gonna go to that slide right now. This is a classic show that's available on DVD right now. So there it is. Grateful Dead, Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I own this DVD. Yeah.
Well, the thing you got to understand about this poster was not released till after the show had been done.
Okay.
And so we ended up, the Blues Brothers were not announced at all. It was just closing of the Winterland, Grateful Dead, New Riders, and other guests. And so what we did, we knew who we were going to be playing with. And it was apparently one of only 3 live shows they did. And so we had a codolith of the silhouette of Aykroyd and Belushi with the hats and the sunglasses and the whole thing. And we were black before they came on. And then we put it into the high bright projector for full screen, and everything was quiet and waiting. And I said, "Are you ready? Watch this." Kicked the lamp on, and the whole place just roared. And it was like, wow, talk about power. It's like having a big, guitar thing and you're hitting that chord and the whole room shakes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
I've had an experience, same exact experience. And I was in France, and we had this picture we were doing with the Doors, and it was sold out as Jim Morrison's 60th birthday. And I had that slide of Jim Morrison, and it's dark, everybody's waiting, that classical music's playing, and when the music ends, bam, and you hit it, and the whole place erupts, and it's just the tip of your finger, just boom.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you got 6,000 people screaming. So I know that feeling. Yeah, it is awesome. Okay, so that was the closing of Winterland, and San Francisco Lightworks did the light show, and you guys were up in the rafters. I remember in the video.
It was like building the pyramids, trying to take all the equipment up to the upper balcony, because it wasn't just up in the balcony; it was upper part of the balcony.
Yeah,
so
way up
we
there.
had a heavier than usual guest list in order to get enough bodies to get people to get it up there.
No elevators in the building.
Oh no, of course not.
Of course
and
not.
If there were, we wouldn't get to use them. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
But one other little odd note from that show was backstage during the afternoon setup. This is all pre-cell phones. My business partner Charlie Webster was there, and he was waiting to use the payphone that was on the back wall of the backstage. And he was on that, and he finished his phone call, and he sensed something behind him, and he turned around, and he is nose to nose with John Belushi.
Oh wow!
And it's like, what do I do here? Because he's like a doorway at that point, and he's looking at Belushi. Belushi's looking at him, and then Belushi just goes. Slips out from there.
Oh, that's great.
Okay,
so we're gonna move on to the 80s, and this was another massive show you guys did, a benefit for Vietnam veterans.
Yes.
Moscone Center, Jefferson Starship.
The first time they'd ever had a concert at Moscone.
I think the first and only.
Yeah, it could be. The good thing about it is we drove right to the setup. I mean, there's full truck access on the floor, which made life easier.
No, definitely.
In in a convention thing, you couldn't, but in our case, we could drive right onto the floor. And it took us 3 days to set it up. We had to get all the scaffolding done. The power was easy. I mean, they had power to beat the band. But getting the whole thing set up, getting the screen, that was one of the few times we got to use that big screen of ours.
That's your screen, huh?
Show the photos.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's the platform back there, which is you're not in yet. It's empty.
Rear projector
your screen, and they're just getting the PA hooked up. There's no band gear yet. Take it from there, John.
Yeah. So basically, what we ended up doing was we invited everybody, and various light artists had little trick things that they like to do, and they were good at this. And I said, well, bring it along because we got lots of power, we got lots of room.
Yeah.
So it was basically like a visual jam session.
I'm going to show you the equipment.
Yeah. Let's show that because this was quite an impressive setup.
Wide
angle. Yeah.
I mean, look at all those projectors, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Like 5 overheads and probably
this must have been one of the biggest light shows I at least
as
in photos.
As I know it is.
Yeah, as far as I've ever seen in photos, absolutely. Yeah, this is. Do you even have a count as to how many carousels that you have there?
Well, you can probably tell just by looking. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks of 3, and then there's another whole run of them down below. There was another 6 by them as one individual setup. We had film interspersed in there. We had Lumia down below.
Okay. Well, there's more right here and here too.
Yeah, that's film.
And more.
Yeah.
Oh, so
you had Lumia. You had Lumia down below, like on the floor,
lower
I guess.
Left. Yeah. No.
Oh, down there. Right. Yeah. I see. Right by the overheads.
I see.
Yeah,
that's why these are sideways. Those are sideways because they're Lumia shots.
Yeah.
That's why the projectors are facing that direction.
Oh, right.
I see. So
can we go to the next slide? I think it's.
I'm going to go to the monster slide here, which
this one shows it like really
there
big.
We go.
Yeah.
The other one's cool.
Beautiful.
Now you've got, if you start at the top and go from the left, you've got a couple of slide projectors, then a 16 millimeter projector. Then you've got 2 xenon projectors. Then you got the stack of 6, which I think the specialty thing. And then there's something else next to it. I can't remember what that was.
These look like they're carousels.
Yeah, they also looks like they have some kind of like almost like hoses hooked up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've got Jay Moss in there with his red headband.
He's got 3 of them right there.
Yeah, and those are also xenon projectors. And then there's another stack of 3 regulars.
And the other shot had 3 more over here.
1, 2, 3 overhead projectors.
Right here. 4. There's a best one right there.
Okay, and then
here's a Lumia wheel.
Yeah, right you see that right there. Yeah.
And another Lumia, probably handheld here, and just amazing setup.
Yes, so you guys had San Francisco Lightworks and then Pablo Light Show. Were there any other?
Pablo joined us, and then the name basically survived as the stencil on Baby. But it was never like San Francisco Lightworks with Pablo. They just joined the band.
Right. And Pablo was from New York City, right? And then they worked at the Fillmore and a bunch of other venues. And I think they even didn't they do who's that organist? Didn't they like Victor
Fox?
Yeah, Virgil Fox, right? They also did light shows for
Virgil
him.
Fox.
And he has some pretty cool backdrops, and I think they probably even did like Carnegie Hall with him or something like that. Yeah. So you had those guys out there working, and anybody else like from the from the area that whose name we might know or something like that?
George Holden was there.
Oh, cool.
George was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris was there.
Here's a shot here of the show, the actual show.
Yeah.
That's pretty, a lot of color wheels. Too bad. That's the only shot I can find. This one's better than the last one I had, though. Pretty good resolution. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to take it here and talk about a show that your crew did, but you weren't there. It was an HBO special. It It was with the Chambers Brothers, Sly and the Family Stone, Donovan, Country Joe. And it was at the Fillmore. They reopened the Fillmore, the old Fillmore on Fillmore Street, Geary and Fillmore. And the people that were here were Charles Suttle, which is your liquid guy, who had the machine Baby, which we're going to see pretty quick here. And then we had George Holden, Carl Cohen did film, and Joe Segura did the slides. So, and they filmed this thing on HBO, and you can still look it up on YouTube, and you can look at the performance of the Chambers Brothers, and they do a bunch of cutouts, cut in and out of the liquids, and show the guys actually performing it with their hands on stage, and then showing the screen. It's really a good example for the audience to check out. If you get opportunity.
Yeah.
And so San Francisco Lightworks indirectly did this show, which kind of once again reintroduced light shows to the 80s. And then the dinosaurs. Here we go. You guys did a bunch of these shows. Or San Francisco Lightworks.
We did. There was a club in Embarcadero Center, the name of which escapes me at the moment.
Oh, Old Waldorf.
Old Waldorf. We did the Old Waldorf one night with the dinosaurs, and Barry Melton came on in a 3-piece suit. And he came up to the microphone and says, "Hey man, dig it. I'm a lawyer now." Because all the time he'd been performing and doing shows and hanging out backstage and waiting and stuff, he read the law. He did not go to law school. He read the law. And then he went ahead and passed the bar and became a lawyer. Which he still is a lawyer.
He's a self-educated lawyer.
Yes.
Wow. That's very impressive.
At Woodstock, he did the marijuana chant on the movie. So
okay.
Well, you know that Country Joe and the Fish, Joe McDonald owned Country Joe, and Barry Melton owned the Fish.
Oh, I see.
Oh God.
So, but the dinosaurs was like the best of everybody, Cipollina and Barry and Albin and stuff. So, you know, you had to come up with some neutral name.
Yeah, I'm not so super familiar with them. So they were like sort of like a super group, if you want to call it.
But I don't think they ever got a record label.
Yeah, there is a record, dinosaur record, but you know, it didn't really sell that well. They were okay. I'll just run by who they are real quick, and we'll move on. So they are. Spencer Dryden is a drummer from the Jefferson Airplane. You got Barry Melton, the lead guitarist to Country Joe and backup vocalist. You got John Cipollina from Quicksilver, lead guitarist. You got Robert Hunter, the songwriter for the Grateful Dead, and the bass player from Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Peter Albin.
Right. So that's the lineup. But they reintroduced, you know, light shows, and this Kabuki was a pretty nice theater that you guys did.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well.
And just real quick, what year was this in?
Good.
Oh, I think
we're talking like early
80s, 86.
80s. It was 80s.
But like mid 80s.
Mid 80s.
Yeah. Mid 80s. Okay.
So I mean, this stuff's really chronological. It's right after this. As soon as they did that Chambers Brothers show, then they did the dinosaurs, and then let's get a picture of your crew here with babies in the background, at least the upper part of it.
The pipes.
You know, maybe you can explain who these people are.
Well, from left to right, there's me, Suzie, and Charles Suttles.
Yep.
Suzie and I, after 50 odd years, finally got married.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're getting that story. Awesome. I mentioned that in our earlier broadcast.
That's cool.
That's great. Fantastic. Glad to hear it.
So that's probably, that's the Exotic Erotic Ball main stage. And that was up on scaffolding.
Okay.
Not one of the greatest setups, but it's a great picture.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's get the disco room here that you guys did there. There it is.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Talk about that's Baby. So tell us about Baby and your equipment and all that.
Well, Baby basically was based on two transpakes, which are the convex reflector rather than Fresnels.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about them in our last show.
Yep. And so it's all unistrut pipe that's up there, and it all comes apart. And it's all Allen keyed together. And you can put it apart. We had to beef up the power a bit because we went to the 2,000 watt lamps, which we kept in there after we finished the Doors movie. But we had foot pedal dimmers, so we could do it manually. We had the plate rotator built into there and its power supply, color wheels, plus the big strobe wheel.
Yeah, up
And,
here.
Yeah, so that thing looks like it just comes down, right?
It does.
And-
It swings down. It
And
pivots
then
on
just
the,
goes right here.
the top black bar.
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, we had interchangeable focus lenses, so
Right here.
we
Yeah.
just had them there. We could raise it up. It was a motor drive focus, which was very handy, but you just pivot it by squeezing it and disconnecting the gears, slide it up to a quick focus,
Oh,
and
wow.
lock the gears back in again.
Did you make
So
that
we had
head?
wide angle, we had long throw, we could cover pretty much anything.
Yeah,
you-
you'll see that
did
in
you
the
make-
Doors movie. The long
Did you
show.
make those yourself, or did you repurpose them from something else?
Make what?
The heads with the mirrors and the different lenses and
They
all
were
that.
made custom. Basically, all they are is a front surface mirror to bounce it, and then a hole in the bottom that the lens fit in.
Yeah,
That's it.
cool.
Yeah, we had interchangeable lenses.
Yeah.
And here's the distro. This is the distro that we would used to have to run all this stuff. You see
Oh
it down-
yeah, that's a 100 amp breaker or 100 amp service.
Right. And you have to tie it in, with the cam locks.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's the old days of Light Show. Now I plug everything into 120th circuit. And get just a
I
spray.
got a MIDI cable.
And then you got one of these AVL slide
Yeah, let me go into that
controllers.
basically, in the early days, we were running with 12 projectors, which was 2 sets of 6 in crates that the sides came off of, and we put the projectors inside of it on their own boxes, and we could use the things to raise and lower it. And we had built a handmade controller system that had dimmer, forward and reverse, focus, and then master on and off and master dim and stuff in these little boxes that we had custom made up and ran it all on Cinch Jones plugs. Then after a while, when those projectors gave out and the AV from the commercial side of things became more prominent, we went to the standard AVL system with the computer and the dissolve units, and we would not use the strobe wheels anymore because all we do is just program the lamps to flash.
Right.
Yeah.
We still had color wheels for that, but it
Interesting.
allowed us to make use of equipment that was far and away out of the financial reach of other light shows.
Right.
Because this was all the commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
let's go. Okay, yeah, go, Steve.
Well, I was gonna say, like, since you're bringing up the AV stuff, what was like
Yeah.
the ratio? This was kind of like your bread and butter,
Yeah.
right? And so how often were you guys able to do shows around this time?
Well, it was seasonal. We always worked Halloween. We always worked New Year's Eve. And then other shows would come up as they came up.
Yeah.
It wasn't how we made our lunch money. It was basically the band after work kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Charles Suttles never worked for BPS. He only did the light show.
Mm-hmm.
His
Right,
actual job was hypnotherapist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did hypnosis.
Yeah. It's
And so
Right. It's the same thing with Brotherhood. We only worked a certain amount of time,
mhm.
and I had a day job. Okay, here we go to your liquid box, which is
Yeah.
in. Okay, so maybe.
Now that's in the companion crate that we call Little Sister. Joe Golden built that for us. And so this is actually a fairly recent picture
Mm-hmm.
that I've just tried to clean up and sort out and get everything done. You've got all the PH Martins in there and gaffer's taping and all the bottles. You were always getting people saying, "Hey, what is that? What is that?" And we ended up using codes on it. If there was a single band of black tape around it, it was water. If there were 2 bands around the bottle, it was alcohol.
Oh, you
If
can
there's
see
3
that.
bands, it was mineral oil.
Oh, wow. That's smart.
Right. You can see the
And
bands
4
there.
yeah.
4 bands was glycerin.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just really hard to see stuff, and especially while you're doing a shows. That's a really great. That's a really great method.
Okay, now I think this is underneath baby, isn't
Yeah.
it?
No, this is
Oh,
Little Sister.
okay.
Okay, the previous slide was that top box on the left.
Right here, yeah.
Okay, so what we've got in here, at the top, the white briefcase are mats, and the black briefcase is also more mats. Then, of course, the inevitable paper towels. And then inside the black case to the right of the paper towels was painted mats, that would be like huge slides that we'd be able to put on.
The overhead, yeah.
And then down at the bottom where it says Brand Projection Service, that was our glass plates, which I have a picture of. I think I got in there somewhere. And then more mats in that right-hand one. At the far right corner is the plate rotator.
Okay. With the
Yeah,
wheels.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of mechanical stuff in your show.
Yeah, we
That's really
did a
cool.
lot of mechanical stuff.
Okay, so now you guys got this Doors movie, and here's the LA shoot. This was kind of a black and white looking thing. Maybe talk about LA a little bit in the Doors movie, and then we'll move on to the other stuff.
So this is Val Kilmer. This isn't actual Jim Morrison.
No, it's Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie, by the way, the Doors movie. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'll get this next shot of the poster, and this was the LA shoot again.
Yeah.
And this is the remaking of him exposing himself, supposedly in Florida. So now you guys shot this in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. And there was a lot of black and white liquids and black and white spiral patterns, which are those mats you're talking about in that box, right?
Yeah, the moires.
Yeah,
Oh.
moires. Yeah. You take two of them and spin them around, and they kind of make this swirling pattern.
So
Yeah.
were they printed on acetate, or what kind of
Basically they were high contrast codolith acetates
colorless?
that and they were done by, one was held stationary and the other one rotated above it.
Yeah.
One of the things that the production designer wanted for that particular scene, which was just before that, was we had a clear plate over the top of it. And as he came on the stage, they splashed red across it.
Oh, okay.
Just red water.
I see.
Yeah. Regarding the codoliths, because I have some old codolith slides, and I know it's like an older process. Is there anywhere where you can get this stuff made? Because they really are the best contrast of anything I've ever seen.
It's absolute high contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no gray. It's black or it's white.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know if you can get them made still, or is this kind of so arcane?
I am so long out of it. I have no idea.
Anything
to do with film is becoming increasingly difficult.
Okay, we're getting your cheek, and that's about it in that shot. There you go.
Yeah.
I'll answer that question because I use it's called a film stat, and I used to get those made to make t-shirt designs because I had a silkscreen company.
Okay.
And so I would go get, I would take this Doors logo and say, I want this black and white logo at a certain size, and they would make this codolith to be clear film with the Doors logo. Then I could put that and burn it on a silk screen. So you could probably
so the same thing that you use for, because I understand with the silk screening process.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right, so now let's move on to the baby at the Warfield, and this is the whole crew there.
Oh yeah.
And there's John over here.
Yeah.
And there's Charles Suttle with the hat, and the Susie's son, I think. And then there's Pete.
Susie's
Benowitz.
son is now 45.
Wow.
Wow. And there's baby with the long throw lenses, and you guys have it elevated too, like the plates are up higher.
I wanted to talk about that the other time. Basically, what we call those are raised stages. So if you look at when the overhead projector is on and projecting with nothing on it at all, just the light cone, you notice that the light cone condenses down the higher it gets towards the mirror and the projection lens.
Yeah, correct.
The light itself is going in 360 degrees and then bounced off reflectors and then masked by the stage and everything else. So what we're doing is we're intercepting the light path further up in the cone where less of the light is cut out.
Right.
In order to get the same size hole, like with a mask, you would lose more. So with the raised stages, it was a way of getting at least another 20% worth of light.
Oh,
Right, because you're
okay.
concentrating the light and then you're throwing it.
Correct.
Also, with these lenses
It's
are
like
making it a
putting
long
your
throw.
thumb over the end of the hose.
Right. Got it. Okay. So, all right. So that's the Doors movie. Do you want to talk about that at all? Like any experience you had there, or you want to move on
Yeah.
to the next?
Yeah, there was like any movie, there's a lot of scenes that are shot and never used.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things they wrestled with is how do we deal with the afterlife, presuming that Jim Morrison had one. And so they tried this, they tried that. And one of the scenes that I got a real big kick out of is they did a truck shot from behind Morrison on the stage. He's in full black leather, and they've got all these big light beams all around him, and it's just blasting down on him. And the microphone that he has was live, and he used it through the PA to do directions for the crowds and everything else. It was never recorded, but it was working.
Oh.
And as they're doing this truck shot in on him while he's singing and writhing, he's singing into the microphone, "It's hotter than hell up here, and I'm gonna die." They had to put a towel over the microphone between takes.
So, okay, next slide. Exotic Erotic Ball. Okay.
Mhm.
And this was, you guys did this how many years in a row?
15.
15 years. Okay. And this is the setup right here. It's really great. Look at that.
And tell us what for us who aren't from San Francisco, what is the exotic erotic ball?
Well, basically, it was let's get funky and let's pretend we're much wilder and sexier than we are. A lot of suburban people.
We're only seeing half your face there. There you go. That's better.
And so what ended up happening was they had strippers, they had bands, they had exotic booths, they had sex toys. It was like a full, bizarre marketplace. And so we started off. It was done in the concourse, which is this very, very long warehouse building. That the only refinement was they added carpet, and they used it for a lot of exhibitions and stuff. And they put the main stage at the far end, and we were projecting above that on a rear projection screen. It was only like a 10.5 by 14. It wasn't a big screen because
is that what we're seeing here, or is this another part of the?
No. This is later. We did the main stage for like 2 years, maybe 3 years. And then we suggested, there's that whole back half of the hall, through some doorways and a whole nother section that has nothing in it. Why don't we move back there? And they say, yeah, sure. Because they kept the video projection and the camera stuff and everything on the main stage, and that was fine. Because we were always having to fight for screen time.
Mm-hmm.
So what you see here is shot from the projectors, and it's our stretch screen. It's 16 by 60 feet.
Oh, wow. That's long.
Yeah. And we had a man lift to get the thing rigged, and you can see people walking behind it and under it.
Yeah.
And of course, the area right in front of us was dropped down about 2 feet, so we didn't have people's heads walking in the way. And the best part about it was behind where we were set up, about 12 or 15 feet was the truck door where we backed our truck up. And it was dead easy. And every year we have our production meeting with the same people doing the lights, doing the sound, as ever it was. And the production meeting took about 3 minutes. Like, same stuff. All right, see ya.
Nice.
Everybody knew what to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we had our own roadies traditionally, a couple of guys that weren't interested in doing the shows. They were just interested in getting in free and hanging out and trying to pick up girls. And Dave Thorne and Mike Rand. And they obviously moved on over time. And then on one of the exotic setups I was working, and all of a sudden this guy comes up and says, "Hey, Brando." And it was Dave Thorne. Who appeared. I said, "Thorne, nice to see you. Get in the truck."
So Yeah, there, and that was like a loading ramp right there, wasn't it? You could
No,
back
it wasn't a loading ramp. It was an actual truck dock, but we had a ramp built into the truck.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
okay.
So we could raise or lower, go down to the ground or up to the dock and just maneuver the thing and then lock the truck down and just roll right off. So it was almost as easy as, doing it in bed. I mean,
So
just roll it right off.
this went through the 90s. Now I'm going to show you a
Yeah.
picture of the posters, and you kind of get the idea of the Exotic Erotic Ball at this
Yeah.
point. Steve, get your freak on.
Get your freak on. Yeah.
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 And there was some.
Oh,
weird
look at that. I'm looking at the musician Gerardo Rico Suave. I remember that song.
The Cramps.
The Cramps. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually at that show.
And there's some comedians. This is crazy.
Oh yeah, then they had
the bizarre thing. I mean, it was more of an event than a performance.
Yeah. Miss Exotic Erotic contest was $1,000 prize. You can imagine what showed up for that.
Yeah, it was a weird range.
Yeah, it was pretty hot.
Everyone is a star at the Exotic Erotic Ball.
That's so cool.
Sounds like fun.
Including San Francisco Lightworks. Okay, so here is, I guess it's a corporate, or is this, what is this?
This is a corporate. This was the Decathlon Club down in Santa Clara. It was a summertime thing, and we bootlegged that party because while they hired us to do their event, we were actually quietly celebrating our own anniversary.
Hey, we're once again just getting your mouth in this picture.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I can't see myself, so I have no idea.
There, that's better.
That's great. That's good.
Thanks. Yeah.
So
okay, so you did a lot of corporate too, right? You guys did a lot of corporate light shows.
They paid well.
Yeah.
And the biggest difference with performance of corporate versus rock performance is with rock, they just wanted you in the balcony, backstage, just out of the way, right?
Right.
Corporate,
still do.
Front and center in the middle of the hall.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They wanted us as part of the entertainment.
Yeah, Chris and I were talking about that because we've both done, a decent amount of corporate works. And how did you like doing those kind of gigs? Because we have some.
Like them fine. They paid well.
They pay well. Fair enough. Yeah. I find
the thing about light shows versus commercial AV.
Yeah.
Commercial AV paid the bills. Light show didn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what we do, we also, I've done a bunch of these kind of corporate things, and it's a similar thing where they want you kind of front and center, you're part of there, but not having music or like a theatrical, situation to work with, I find to be kind of tough to do for a few hours,
Well, basically, it's kind of like a stroll in the park. You don't have to worry about.
You don't have to do much.
You don't have outrageous promoters. You don't have. Prima donna bands. It's like, hey, boy, you're great. We love this.
Right. It's kind of autopilot once they start putting the disco music on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he just kept doing it. I mean, it was.
Here's a. Okay, so here's a kind of a parting shot. This is your crew and the famous screen at the Exotic Erotic, which I love. And now, what talk about Suzie a little bit? She was a liquid person and came from. Musical background, or what was the story with her?
Her father used to manage bands.
Okay. And so she
was in third grade. And so what was the name of the band? Grassroots?
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad, he managed the band. I was only in third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it was a band called the Bedouins. And then they would do like Battle of the Bands at San Mateo County Fairgrounds. And then, so we went and watched them all the time, and they actually used to rehearse at our house in our family room. So it was pretty cool. My dad and his best friend, they managed him. And then they actually went off to, when they got big enough, they took him to Hollywood.
Point the camera at her a little better, John. Can you, there you go.
I can't see my picture. So
that's great. That was good.
That's great. Yeah, you guys are good.
Thank you.
Anyway, they my dad took him to Hollywood and met a guy named Barry McGuire, who was a promoter. And anyway, they became the Grassroots. And one of their biggest hits was Midnight Confession. But anyway, they were really cool. They used to babysit me and pick me up from school. And I remember when I went when I was in third grade, they came to my classroom and waited outside the door. And the teacher said, when we walked out, when school was over, they said, "What are you guys doing here?" They said, "We're here to pick up Suzie." And they said, no, I have to call the principal. Because they had long hair, and it was so funny. So they called, the principal called my parents. My parents said, yes, it's okay that the 4 guys are picking up Suzie from third grade in their station wagon. So that was pretty wild. It was fun though.
Yeah.
That was like a big highlight. And then, like I said, they used to rehearse at our house every weekend, and they would even babysit us at home. So we had a blast. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And so it was cool watching them rehearse though at our house and like that. What else?
Well, how did you hook up with John? Tell us about that.
Well, I will, but let me tell you one thing. My dad, when I was in third grade, my very first concert, my dad took us to the Avalon Ballroom.
Oh, wow.
And it was Jefferson Airplane that was performing.
Cool.
And I saw, all kinds of stuff going on, colors and lights. And I was like, wow. I was totally fascinated by that. So that was really cool. That was my first concert. But you want to know about John? How we met? Well, he had to ask my dad if I could do the light shows with him. And I was just, like 13. So my dad said, well, he actually went upstairs in my house, talked to my dad. And my dad said, well, as long as Suzie gets all of her homework done, she keeps her grades up, she goes to school on time, and you need to be responsible for her. And he said, okay. So I got to start going to light shows with John. And he took very good care of me, and he taught me a lot, and I was always fascinated by it because, having the music industry background, from my dad, I just thought it was really cool. And then
and she was a natural talent at it.
Yeah, we grew up about a mile apart, Suzie and myself. Did you know
I
that?
know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's amazing. In fact, some of her best friends in high school are some of my best friends. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But she was out doing shows with John. I never met her.
Yeah.
I know, but when you were 13, I don't think you were doing light shows.
Do you know?
No, I wasn't. I was
one
going to San Bruno and seeing Temporary Optic at that point.
Yeah,
And,
Mike O'Donnell.
Oh, wow.
oh, is that the guy's name?
Yeah, Mike O'Donnell.
Mike O'Donnell.
He was the one with the glasses and the mustache.
Right. And that's where I learned how to do light shows, through him.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not involved like she was, but I was watching and hanging out with him. So.
Chris, we were doing shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights at Fillmore West.
Oh, I know.
I was like so active doing light shows, and I was just so happy that my dad let me go.
Yeah.
But he trusted John because he was way older than me, and he was responsible, and
Yes.
he knew he would take care of me. And not only that, my dad, being a manager of a band, he understood the industry. So I really respect my dad for that, and I'm really happy I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Really
it turned
cool.
out all right. And everything turned out all right. So
Well, the thing is, at that stage of our lives, Suzie fit the formal description of jailbait.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
we were never involved with each other.
Mhm.
And then 50 odd years later, when I came out to visit and we realized we're going to be a
Kinda.
couple, she calls her mother on the phone and says, just so you know, you're first to know, John Brand and I are a couple. And her mother said, I knew it.
Oh.
I can imagine.
It had
I
to
can.
happen.
But
That's
you know what? Along the way, through all those years, we've always stayed in touch, and we were very extremely close.
Yeah.
In many ways and always. But it was really special.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, it was very special. And I'm just grateful, that I got to learn and be a part of, our era. And it continued on, for many years. So, and even when Charles and I continued at the Exotic Erotic Ball you were talking about, it was just great. Charles and I were just like a little well-oiled machine. It was so cool. So actually at the Exotic Erotic Ball, that's where Greg Allman kissed me there.
Oh yeah, I remember when Greg did that. At any rate, well, John's off the screen now, but
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that John really helped Pete and I with the Brotherhood of Light when we took it over from Ed back in '88. And Carl Cohen told me, call up John Brand and talk to him. And you met us at Paradise Lounge, and you gave us all this great advice, and we bought a bunch of equipment, and you helped us ship stuff to Japan. And it was just, he was the same kind of thing that happened. He brought me back into the professionalism of light show business. And I think he's done that with a lot of people over the years, especially in the 80s, and I really, really appreciate you helping me out, John. That was really
Yeah, I
fantastic.
even remember Martoon.
What was that? Martoon, you said?
He was one of the members of Brotherhood of Light version 1.
Oh, Martin. Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, I was just going to say you and I have that in common with John.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then I found out you're from San Bruno like 6 months ago. I was like, amazing.
Were we on the tour bus, you and I, and we were talking, and we're like, and we were talking about light show stuff and liquids and like that, and all of a sudden we were like, hey, wait a second, and then we discovered all that.
Right.
Like,
that
who
she
else
was,
you get to talk liquids with?
About you and I, we were just so close, 6 miles apart, and we have so much in common, right?
I know, it was just amazing. Like your
It
best
was so
friend
cool.
was hung out with Frank Long, who was my best friend back then. It was really amazing.
That's so crazy.
Anyway, let's start to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to go to this last show at the Fillmore. We're going to go back to the old Fillmore, which reopened in 85, and now in 1989 we did this show with Jefferson Airplane when they reformed. Pete and I did 3 nights, and with the aid of John helping us with slide projectors and screens and stuff. And then about 2 weeks later, the Loma Prieta earthquake happened, and the Fillmore was shut down again.
Yeah.
And it took 5 years to reopen, and this was a reopening in 1994, and there it is being retrofitted for earthquakes in this right-hand Smashing Pumpkins poster. And these are all the shows that happened when they reopened it. Still a great dance hall. So we're going to end with that. How's that sound, guys?
Great.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, Steve.
Well, we've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all that. And, thank you, Suzie, for jumping in at the end there. That really made the show special. So
Sure.
yeah, I learned a lot from this, really, John. I had no idea how much stuff you had done and how integral you were to the continuation of this art form, and keeping it going for all those years and bringing on other artists and stuff. So I think that's really cool. So kudos to you, sir.
It's fine.
Hey, thanks a lot for you guys coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you too.
All right. I think I'm gonna go watch the Doors movie after this.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Awesome
All right.
that show.
Okay, we're signing off. So
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye,
bye,
everyone.
everybody. See you guys.